Once you've loaded the game up for the first time, you'll be met with the character creation screen. Upon creating your character, you'll be able to access the settings. I genuinely think that they should change that because the music is obnoxiously loud upon loading up and you can't actually change it until you've created your character. However, moving on, this is a Death Knight. He is probably the strongest PvPer during the game. I've been playing him for maybe 20 odd hours-ish. There's two undead classes in the game, one being Death Knight, which you can see here, and the other being the Cryomancer. Both of them run off of soul energy, which is basically their mana. As you kill AI or players, they both drop these small green orbs, and you collect them to refill your mana bar. One of the things that makes the Death Knight super strong on the battlefield is that he has a passive called Lifesteal if you build him towards a stamina build. This means that every time you kill a monster or a player and you pick up their soul essence, not only will it refill your mana bar, but it will also refill your health bar as well. Which in my opinion gives the Death Knight the highest amount of survivability out of all of the characters in the game. With that passive coupled up with Grasp from the Grave, which pulls your enemies towards you, and then hitting Q to activate your AoE, causing shadow damage to anything in your vicinity, the Death Knight is a huge problem on the battlefield, and in my opinion, could use a little work as he is very, very, very strong in comparison to many other classes. What we've got playing in the background here is a few of the clips that I got throughout the playtest of playing as the Death Knight. I just wanted to showcase some of his abilities. I'm going to hit this guy with the E now, then followed by the Q. You can see the numbers coming up as the dot damage. None of my physical attacks are actually getting through the shield, but my passive, as you finish the Q, it explodes, doing slightly more damage at the end of the AoE. Considering that I haven't actually hit him with a single physical strike, you'd think he'd have quite high HP still, but I've just hit him with the E and he died straight away, which leads me to believe that the Q was doing slightly more damage than I anticipated. When it comes down to 1 versus 1 conflict, the Death Knight really is at the head of the pack. One of the main things I noticed towards the end of the playtest was that the castle, the solo map, was generally filled with either Death Knights or Rogues, making lobbies pretty stale. I really think that they need to revise some of the abilities on the Death Knight and balance them out a little bit more to give the other classes a little bit more playability. This isn't to say at all that the other classes don't stand a chance against the Death Knight, as any skilled player can easily take down a Death Knight. All I'm saying is the Death Knight is very strong and it's a big go-to for players at the moment. I'm hoping that on the next playtest or when the game's released, they can balance that out a little bit just to get a little bit more diverse. A couple of the changes that I'd personally like to see with the Death Knight is maybe making his AoE do a little less tick damage or making the area a little bit smaller and reducing the length of his Grasp from the Grave. Apologies to those of you who don't know what DungeonBorne is at all and are going in completely blind. I am just trying to be very clear and concise and to the point with my review on the characters that I have played, so I'm just going to continue to keep hitting the wave tops and giving you the details of what I think does work and what I think doesn't. So without further ado, let's get straight into the fighter. Basically, with him, what you see is what you get. He is your brawler, he's your tank. Big, hard dude, two-handed weapons, full plate metal. He's got a charge ability, which is his E, and he's got a spin move, which you need a two-handed weapon for, which is his Q. So what I'm showing you here are the fighter's passives, and out of all of the characters that I play, I'll probably say that his are the most underwhelming when it comes down to beneficiaries. However, the fighter really does just do what it says on the tin. He gets in there and he fights. He's probably one of the least complicated characters out there, but you really want to just be building stamina and strength just to give you more HP and more damage when you're getting into team fights. The spin can be a bit of an issue if you haven't timed it properly and your teammates are in the way. Not gonna lie, I've had a few team kills here and there and seen enemies do the same thing. Out of all of the characters that I've played, I'd say I'd put him pretty much at the top for balance. He does the exact job that he's supposed to do. He doesn't feel extremely overpowered. He can kill squishy people quite quickly, but that's understandable when you're hitting them with a two-handed weapon. They don't have very good armor. It's down to the other team's tank to be in your face, and if they're not doing their job. If they are, the team fights feel very balanced and can go on for quite a while, which leads to some really good engagements.
That treed one. It's gonna do 0 damage. The first 0. I know that I was trying to charge it, like timing it, but
So as we wrap up my breakdown on the fighter, I just want to put a little footnote in to say the only thing that I'd really like to see different is a little bit more variety on armor and weapons. Maybe some axes involved, two-handed axes, a few more shields, a few more sets of armor. But other than that, I really enjoyed playing him and feel like his place within the game is really solidified by how he plays.
There's two here, closer.
Okay, I'm coming. They're probably the same guys who just came upstairs.
I'm going around behind, he doesn't know I'm here.
I got 2 kids here. They know I'm here. Fucked up.
Right, I got to heal up. There's more people. Okay. One more bandage and I'm good to fight. Oh, fuck. Nice, bro.
And now for the class that I've held nearest and dearest to my heart since I started playing, my first character, the Priest. In almost any team-compilated online game, I've always lent more towards the support characters or a tank, as I feel like being in the thick of it and taking the fight head on or supporting your friends to help them stay alive to be the most rewarding. And with that in mind, this game has been no exception. So let's now take a look at some of his abilities and passives. First up, we have Divine Protection, which grants you a small shield absorbing some damage and gives you a boost to your movement speed for a short amount of time. Secondly, we have Divine Guidance, which upon casting and can be charged can heal yourself or a teammate for a certain amount of health dependent on your faith. Your faith is another attribute skill which you really want to stack into as the Priest, as the passives are very beneficial. Your heal can do a lot more, and you can also bring one teammate back per raid, along with removing one debuff on a heal, which is extremely beneficial during team fights if you've been hit with a flask of Thunderclap, or even fighting elites or bosses. A skilled priest can turn the tide of any fight, and having the ability to bring back a dead teammate just really puts the cherry on the cake. The priest's initial port of call for attack would be his staff, which is why you always want to carry a lightning staff as it has the most versatile attack. His secondary being a shield and a mace, which brings me on to the next point I wanted to make. He feels very underwhelming in hand-to-hand combat, making him almost unplayable for the person that isn't very skilled in the combat system. If you take the priest to the solo castle, 9 times out of 10, even if you're wearing good gear, you're going to get shit on by a level 6 Death Knight who has no green gear and is just bog standard. The only attack you can do physically with a priest is a downward strike, and if you miss, you have to wind it back up, and it takes a very long while to actually get that strike back out. If you hit your target, you can strike repeatedly, which can be quite effective, but if you miss one swing, it can usually cost you your life. The priest's heals within teams fights feel quite balanced in the sense of you don't heal your teammates to full, and it costs quite a bit of mana to do so. But his lack of ability to combo with the mace and the shield, and also his ability to wear anything other than cloth, really bottlenecks him as a first pick for many players, and I feel like a lot of people don't play him just purely because of the fact that he's far too squishy and only serves one purpose. In many other games that I've played that have the class of the priest, you're able to play a battle priest, make quite a tanky build, get yourself involved in fights, and sometimes at the cost of having better heals, which I genuinely feel would be a good balance for him. If you want to play a battle priest, nerf his heals. If you want to play a support priest, be squishier. These are all small things that I think could be ironed out within the next couple of patches should they listen to the community. Almost half of my 100 hours have been within playing solo on Clozo Castle, and I don't think I've seen a single other priest playing except for myself. How you can really rate how well a character's doing within the meta is by seeing how many people are playing them in the lobbies of the solo, and you do not see many priests. And now for the last character we're going to be reviewing today, the Cryomancer, the second part of the undead duo which I was talking about at the beginning of the video. This guy specialises in crowd control and AoE abilities, a formidable foe even as a solo, with the casting abilities of a large scale AoE which freezes people with inside it, and also the ability to encase himself in ice and heal back up a part of his health, giving him a huge amount of sustain on the battlefield. Around the halfway point of the playtest, the developers took down the servers to release a balancing patch, with the two most notable changes being made to the Death Knight and the Cryomancer. The Death Knight's AoE received a small nerf but was still kinda strong and a little bit too big, and the Cryomancer's AoE received a similar treatment. The Cryomancer being the most versatile spellcaster within the game as of yet. Some of the passives which really help him have sustainability, in my opinion, like the Death Knight, lie within the stamina perks. The Cryomancer's E ability encases him in ice, healing him over time, and when you have the stamina passive unlocked, when you are released from your encasement of ice, the iceberg you're within shatters, freezing anyone within its area, for the same amount of duration as your AoE would freeze someone. So technically speaking, you could freeze someone 2 times in a row for a total of 15 to 20 seconds. That amount to be frozen within a team fight is detrimental and could easily turn the tide of any fight. It's for this reason that I believe the Cryomancer needs a little bit of reworking, as his crowd control abilities are very strong, and then on top of that, the ability to just completely freeze people on the spot almost puts the rogue to shame.
You shall not pass!
Wrecked. Okay, here we are, Chapter 2, time to talk about map design and AI. Both maps have quite frankly an astonishing amount of individuality and character. The solo map, specifically the castle being home to bell towers, graveyards, rooftops, armories, throne rooms, mess halls, dark forests housing werewolves, throne rooms filled with suits of enchanted armor, protected by the headsman, the 3-player dungeon map, home to many secret loot rooms, a menagerie of formidable bosses guarding loot, jail cells, mine shafts, and even mass graves. Both maps have really impressed me with the level of unique areas and enemies to fight within them. Each enemy has their own fighting style and almost a Souls-like way of attacking, which really gets you into the game. Learning each enemy and how they fight and how to defeat them is part of the fun. I know that a vast majority of the assets used in this game are from Unreal Engine, but they've really executed it quite well. As from what I've seen so far, the enemies are really fun to fight and the map design is brilliant. I love a large map, and the solo castle map really stood out to me. Just the vertical levels of being able to drop down on top of people's heads, almost Assassin's Creed style, just grasped me immediately. I really lent into that playstyle, and I'm going to show you some clips of me doing just that. Oh wow, what a play. Well, if there was ever an opportunity for me to get involved, it's probably now. Killed one. So now we've arrived at the end of the video, and I've given you my thoughts. I know it hasn't been as in-depth as most other people's reviews might be, but this is my 100-hour review. There's a lot of things that the game could do better, yes, but it is early days. The playtest was amazing. The map design is phenomenal. One of the things that I think this genre is crying out for is drive in the direction of quests. You want some lore, you want some story. They have all of the foundations set out as all of the merchants are rendered into 3D form and not just a picture, unlike other games like Tarkov or other games that are similar to this. And albeit them games being good, I feel like what they're missing is story and drive and soul. And when I say soul, I mean like bringing the game to life, making people talk, giving you reason to be going into these places to actually get stuff. Not just reading a blurb of dialogue to go in there for no reason. Give it some context, give it some meaning, and the rest can be ironed out and will all fall into place eventually. This has been my 100-hour review. Thank you for watching.